Okay, so in order to help you to figure out how to do this mapping, there's a couple of things that we're going to do today, right? But we're going to develop, we're going to say loosely, a little bit of a strategy, right? And this is important to understand because this video is going to help you in general terms. It's definitely going to help you in general terms. And what I recommend is that as you go through this video, that you actually interact with it. Because if you interact with it, you'll be able to get a lot more out of it, right? So as you go through a lot of the different things that we talk about today, take the time to like really stop, pause the video, write down, journal, and reflect, right? Don't click through it, because if you just click through it, then, you're probably not going to get as much out of it if you actually just paused it and go through some of the questions and actually start going through this process as you're watching it. If you need to, of course, you can always watch it and then come back. But again, I highly recommend that you take the time, pause it, do some journaling, and then keep processing through it. And of course, if you ever need any help, you can always email me. You can go to my website, set up an appointment, and we can kind of walk you through or answer whatever questions you have about the video. Okay. That's how we can help you. Now, first thing we're going to do, as we are looking at how to help you move from this cycle of stagnation and to help you move more so into cycles of progression and success. Well, in order to know where we're going and what we want to achieve, and to understand like why we've been in stagnation, we kind of need to reflect back, right? So I always say, I call it like the slingshot effect, right? So we want to pull back. We want to pull back so that we can figure out how we can launch forward. And we want to go further ahead than where we were before. So the first thing we're going to do is this. We're going to think about, whatever it is that we want to achieve, whatever it is that we wanted to achieve. Now, we already know that we've had some periods of stagnation because that's why we're here today. Now, as we think about, and the things that we wanted to accomplish, whatever that thing was, right? Because let's focus on one thing at a time. Whatever this thing was, whether it was starting a business, or whether it was going to school or something in your career, whatever that thing is, what went well? The last time you were working at it, what went well? Because here's the thing. When we start looking at, man, I just couldn't get this thing off the ground. Nothing ever worked out. We really feel like we go to absolutes. And when we go to absolutes, we throw the whole thing away. We're thinking nothing worked. Nobody helped. Everything was bad. Boo, 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 negative, negative, negative. And we don't want that, right? We have to at least connect with something that went well, because something had to go well. Because remember, I talked about the airplane situation. You're on the runway. You took off. Something did work. Initially when you did it, something worked. So even if you kind of got a little momentum, even if you didn't take off, you got some momentum. So that means something worked well. If you took off a little bit, something worked well. So whatever it was to kind of get you from being completely still to moving, something worked. So whatever that little thing was, right? Despite the days of small beginnings, right? So whatever that small beginning was, you hold on to that, because that gives us hope to be able to move forward. So go back and think about what went well. And again, if you need to pause the video, by all means, pause the video and journal. All right. And do that at any time. Now, once you think about what went well, you also want to think about, what would you do different if you could do it all over again? What would you do different if you could do it all over again? So if you had a chance to start again, what would you do? Would you Would you start at a different time frame? So maybe you started something in the winter, but maybe you just started in the spring. Would would you connect with more people, or would you do it alone? So whatever you did before, would you do something opposite? Right? So those are things to think about. And of course you want to kind of connect to why, right? But those are things you really want to think about. And then of course, if there was something that you knew that you had the ability to do, but you didn't do it for whatever reason, what would you do? Right? If this thing, if nothing would hold you back, right? So in other words, if you could do this one thing and you had the ability to do it, you didn't do it before because, you couldn't. It just seems like, you just didn't have the resources. But if there was nothing holding you back and you had the ability to do it, what would you do? What would you do? Maybe you would, open a store. Maybe you would, get a new skill set, so that you could learn how to manage your business. Maybe, you would collaborate with others. Maybe, you would have more inventory, or if you have a business. So whatever that is, what would you do? And more importantly, I really focus on your natural ability, your ability, not natural, but your skill set and your ability. So what skill set would that be? Would it be like developing your communication skills? Would it be developing your writing skills? If you work in a nonprofit, would you develop grant writing skills? Would you take a finance class? Would you take a marketing class? So what would that look like, right? What would that look like for you so that would help you to move forward a little bit better? Now, this really takes a lot of honesty because you want to be able to say, well, listen, if I'm honest, I probably was kind of lacking in this area and therefore I need this new skill. So that's why you really want to reflect on that. Okay. So these are things that you want to look at on reflecting back. All right. Okay, once you have all that down, then meet me in the next slide.